Sarah Garcia reporting from outside Perfect Imprints Creative Marketing for Walton Beach, Florida. Today we are moments away from interviewing one inspiring woman, a woman who has decided to put her heart on her sleeve to inspire and encourage others. This is Wini and her story of how she decided not only to put her heart on just any sleeve, but an insulated can sleeve. Just shy of 6 months ago, Wini Marquez lost her son Delaney to congestive heart failure. Rather than letting the loss consume her, she decided to celebrate the life of her son with friends and family. I am with Wini now for her to tell her story. Wini, it's great to have you with us here. Thank you for joining us at Perfect Imprints.
Thank you.
An honor. To begin, let's start with a bit of background information for our viewers. Can you tell our audience how and when you lost Delaney?
Delaney died July the 6th, 2021, and Delaney had a heart episode that allowed his implanted defibrillator to jolt him and bring him back long enough so that 911 could be called. And 911 came and his defibrillator activated again the second time before he got to the hospital. And I received a phone call asking what my wishes were if it should activate the third time. And I chose to not resuscitate because by then he was already on life support. So a third time was not going to make it any better.
And this was also his wish as well. You guys
Yes.
have had plenty of conversations before.
Yes, we had had conversations, and he had also had conversations with his Aunt Peggy, he's very close to, and my other son, Damien. And so yeah. Because of the time frame of his diagnosis, he was diagnosed with congestive heart failure on April the 15th of 2020. And that was just shortly after the whole COVID phenomena had kicked into place. And so there were many restrictions. There were a number of restrictions that we had to live with and overcome. In time, those restrictions eased up insofar as that if I had to take him to the emergency room, I was allowed to stay with him. He became a regular at the emergency room, and so many times they would just direct us to a room and I could stay right with him during that time, which was very helpful because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask. It's always good to have that supportive arm.
Absolutely, especially in such an uncertain time frame.
Yes.
I do understand that it did take a little while and a little persuasion for him to finally opt into the defibrillator. Is that correct?
Yes. Delaney led a very active lifestyle, very much an outdoors person. He grew up playing football, high school. It was track, swimming, surfing.
And he was
and more surfing. Did I say surfing?
And he was afraid that with the defibrillator, he was going to be restricted from those activities.
He really lived his life to the fullest, and so the thought of having an electronic device implanted, even though it would save his life, was very foreign to him, and he didn't accept it readily because it was going to cause changes in his life, and that causes a change in anyone's life.
Oh, absolutely.
The food that you eat, the calories you intake, the amount of fluids, the activities you can participate in, and Delaney was constantly during that process questioning, what can I expect to happen? What will the improvement be? If I change my diet this way, what can I expect? How can I help control that? I'm on 23 different pills a day. What is this going to do to my body? What are the after effects? And it's not something that any of us accept readily.
Right. It, like you said, it's completely foreign. And
it is, and Delaney went kicking and screaming. There were a lot of no's before he was willing to make a few steps and then see the results were positive and then make a few more steps. So all of that led to some very positive things happening when he was originally diagnosed. His heart ejection rate was 10%. That's not much.
It's not much at all.
The first doctor that saw him after the trip to the ER where he had been diagnosed came into the waiting room and said that he expected to see a dead man. And because 10% is barely able to walk, you know,
It's terrifying.
10% is not a whole lot of activity and not a very good look as far as your skin tone, your coloring, your demeanor, the way that you carry yourself. And if to look at Delaney, you wouldn't have known. You wouldn't have known that he was sick at all. And so for him to have to face the possibility of something being implanted to keep him alive when he already thought he was living, you know, so it took him a while to accept the fact that this was a necessary procedure, that it was going to help, that in the event that the heart, I'm sorry,
That's okay.
in the event that the heart would fail him, that there was an electrical piece of equipment that was going to give him the best outcome possible. I think we've all probably seen it and we've heard it from other people, that you have to have confidence in the people around you, and you have to have confidence in the choices that you make. The consequences may not be what you would ultimately want, but are you willing to accept them and make those choices and those consequences a new part of your life? And Delaney was fortunate to have an electrocardiologist, a type of doctor I never even knew existed, who would be in charge of implanting this electrical device and making sure that it was in tune with Delaney's natural heart rhythm. So things had to be calibrated and recalibrated and recalibrated again to get Delaney to the maximum level that he could live with and that would be supportive of as near normal a lifestyle as possible. Delaney wanted to get back in the water. He wanted to get back in the water. He wanted to get back on the surfboard. At just a month after his surgery in October of 2020, he bought a brand new board. He was that determined. And his doctor said, you know, let's give this a few months. Let's watch your heart ejection rate. Let's see what changes you're willing to make. And you could get back in the water again with some limits, but you can get back on that board. And once Delaney heard that, it was, let's go.
Oh, and he ultimately went from 10% to 40%.
To 40%.
And how long did that take?
That it took roughly about, right at about 4.5 months.
4.5 months.
When he was originally diagnosed in April of 2020, he was only given 4 to 6 months to live. And in order to be a candidate for the defibrillator implant, his heart rate had to reach a certain level and then exceed that if it could. And Delaney definitely exceeded it. 40% is probably about as good as his heart rate his heart ejection was going to get. But he definitely worked the program to get to that point, changing his diet, changing his activities, taking his meds.
And you did your research, and you said that, and to have a good and active lifestyle, you can survive on 50%. Is that right?
Yes. I mean, I was surprised, because like most people, I would think that your heart ejection rate has to be at 80% for you to be really, really active and to be a go-getter and to do all of those things. But the more that we lived with Delaney's congestive heart failure, the more that we learned what you can do. You can't look at the negatives. And sometimes somebody's got to kick you in the butt to get it done.
A couple people.
Yes, thank you. I had a very supportive family, and Delaney was diagnosed on April 15th. And by Mother's Day, which was just less than 4 weeks later, most of my family had come to Fort Walton from South Carolina, Ohio, West Virginia, even just down the street in Pensacola. The family came in.
Oh, wow.
They circled the wagons, and Delaney had no choice but to face the reality of what was coming and to know that we were there.
It sounds like he had such a great support system when that came to physicians and family, and that is so inspiring. So inspiring.
It's wonderful, but there's always a struggle that comes with that.
Absolutely.
Denying that this is happening to you or your child. And then living with it and knowing that you have to take joy in every moment that you're given when something like that is handed to you. And the joy is sometimes in the simplest things.
You never know when the last moment you have is going to be.
Nobody does, yeah. Nobody.
But
and Delaney lived every moment.
It's everyone's worst nightmare to lose somebody who's close to you. But I love the inspiration that you hold to Delaney, because you consider this, and you've considered his passing, a celebration of life. He lived his life through what seems to be all of it, especially in the months leading to his passing. But it's just incredible that you can celebrate and really reminisce on the good things that came with Delaney, and how he's impacted you and how he's impacted so many other people.
The people around him.
Absolutely. Yeah. Can you tell our audience more about some of his passions? I know, obviously surfing, we love the active lifestyle, but is there anything else that you would like to mention?
Delaney really loved all kinds of animals, especially the puppy dogs. He was also very outdoors oriented. There wasn't a sport that he didn't try at least once. He jumped into all of it. He jumped into, yeah, let's go to the mountains. Yes, I want to learn how to ski. Yet what? Ski? I can snowboard. Come on, let's go. And so he just took off. Skating, skateboarding, and surfing, and golf. And then when he had to change his lifestyle, golf had to change to disc golf. And that proved to be really good because he developed such a great circle of friends. Right when you think that you would shut all of your systems down because you're fighting this physical problem, Delaney created another whole circle of people that were very wonderful and just seemed to identify with what he loved about being outdoors and challenging himself and going the extra step. And he, like I said, he kept getting in the water through the whole thing. And that scared me because, excuse me, it's your heart.
Yeah.
But there was nothing that was going to keep him away from the water.
It sounds to me that he has a drive and like an endless ambition, and people just gravitated towards him.
He was very outgoing. He loved music. He loved making music. He had a band back in the day, and they were your typical garage band, but West Coast rappers. And he had books and books, spiral notebooks full of things that he would write, that even when you just read them were like poetry. Forget that it was going to get put to music,
right.
But yeah.
Oh. And now, the main reason you agreed to do this interview was to encourage others. Can you explain to those who have experienced that what helps you cope? Because this is a very recent wound. It was only 6 months ago that he had passed away.
Yeah, February the 6th will be 6 months. I have many times said that I made the choices that I made and the decisions I made, the way that the celebration of life came to be, because I learned instantly that this takes time. And I have since marveled at people who can lose someone in their life, a child, a parent, anyone, and in 3 or 4 days they're having the memorial service or the funeral or what have you. There's no way that I could have done this in a short period of time. What I was looking for was significance. That his passing, had to mean something. And not just to me and the family. Delaney was going to mean something to us anyway, no matter how we memorialized him. But it had to have significance to other people because he tackled problems the way that he tackled them. Full tilt, full force, go get it. We're going to get this done. And I wanted to keep that going, and I wanted to continue his love for the water, and I wanted to continue to give to other people what he shared. Delaney never shied away from teaching a younger person how to surf, helping them in any way that he could overcome their fears of the water. There was a moment that told me what kind of a man he really was. Delaney was also a chef. We haven't even talked about that. Good gosh, if we thought he loved surfing, don't put that boy in the kitchen or near a good set of knives.
Oh my.
He was always in the kitchen. He spent 25 years developing cooking skills, and he and his older brother Damien were chefs at the Masters golf tournament in Augusta, Georgia. Damien and Delaney were chefs for a group called IMG, and they are the group connected with the Masters that brings in all of the celebrities and and all of the A-listers.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, all those people. Sometimes they couldn't even tell me who they were cooking for.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they had to sign non-disclosures, and
wow.
they couldn't ask for autographs or pictures to be taken. There were numerous contracts that that they had to follow. I started talking about the Masters because Delaney had come home from the Masters, and he had the Masters cap on, and we were out by the water. He and I just spent a couple of hours together, and there was a young lady there, and Delaney watched her, and she would paddle out and paddle out, and she'd try to get on this bodyboard, and she was having difficulty with it, but she'd come back to shore and she'd paddle out and paddle out again. And Delaney said, "Mom, I'm gonna go help her. I can see what's happening." You know, and so he went out and he helped her. And as I watched him help her, I noticed what he had seen all along was that she had no legs. And so paddling out was especially difficult. But Delaney knew how to help her move her upper body differently. And as proud as he was of his Master's hat, he took that hat off and he gave it to her. And he said, "You're going to do just fine, but you have to master the skill." And he gave her the hat. And the young lady's father was extremely jealous that she got the Master's hat because I think her dad would have wanted the Master's hat. But that's the kind of person Delaney was, that he always looked at a challenge in how do I overcome this, or how do I help someone else overcome this, or how can I help them, how can I guide them, how can I help.
And is like holding that to yourself kind of help you cope as well? Filling his shoes, helping others, and
in the process of considering how to celebrate his life, I knew, and it always kept coming back to that one word, significance, that that there had to be a significance, that this just couldn't be a gathering of people looking at a few pictures, that that people had to be actively involved.
Mm-hmm.
So in Delaney's case, with his love of the water, we chose to have a paddle out. And I think almost everyone in our family will end up having paddle outs because we love the water and it speaks to us. Mm-hmm. But I wanted the paddle out to be significant for people who had to overcome challenges. And so in trying to find the right group, I was lucky enough to meet Rick Weeks, who is the founder of Autism Surfs, and which is exactly what the foundation name speaks of, that surfing and challenges go together, and autistic children and people they feel a safety many times with the water. They don't feel their difference so much in the water. And so I knew when I connected with Rick Weeks and Autism Surfs that this would be a cause that Delaney would definitely be in favor of.
Absolutely.
And so we designed a t-shirt with the help of a couple of graphic artist friends of mine. We designed a t-shirt, and I knew when I decided to do the t-shirt that the celebration of life had to have a name. And Waves for Days became the name. And this is a picture that I took of Delaney when he was 17 years old, and that's the very first surfboard he ever bought.
Oh my gosh.
And my friends turned it into this beautiful.
That is incredible.
Yeah, it became Waves for Days became the battle cry, so to speak, because we knew how happy he would be, mm-hmm. and that he would always be with us. Going back to it, the significance had to come from doing good for a group of people. So once I had the t-shirts made and in hand, which isn't as easy as it sounds, which is another reason why, if you're planning a celebration of life, give yourself time. If you want it to be significant, you want to take the time to do it right. And so we decided, once I had the t-shirts made, that I would give the t-shirts with a donation towards Autism Surfs. So we chose a very moderate price, and all of the money went directly to Autism Surfs. We ended up raising over $1,000 for them. And they're beginning their 10th year as a nonprofit, not-for-profit foundation, and they're going to dedicate many of their events this next coming year, their 10th year mm-hmm. anniversary, to Delaney.
You're kidding. That's awesome.
Because my involvement with Autism Surfs will continue, because it's a way of keeping things significant. is to have that continuity, to have that continuum that you go forward with.
And then I also understand that you have other items that you had given away to friends and family and others
Yes.
as well. Do you want to share those?
Yes, Delaney was cremated, and there were specific people, family members and very close friends who wanted some of Delaney's ashes. And I knew that once those ashes were gone, that they wouldn't have anything to remember Delaney by specifically with the ashes. So I had the ashes put in a small bag like this, and I had a keychain made with Delaney's, I don't know what else to call them, enter and exit dates, the year he was born and the year he left us. And then on the back of it, it says Waves for Days.
Oh.
And I had them made as a keychain because I wanted people to have something that they could keep with them, that they could put on their keys if they wanted to, or it could be a zipper pull on their jacket.
Absolutely.
I don't see my grandchildren running around with little bags of Uncle Delaney's ashes. So being able to have a zipper pull with his name on it was a way of letting the grandchildren have something of their own that was Delaney's. And then also to several of his close friends in the disc golf community wanted to use it as a zipper pull on their disc bags. So, that came about. Perfect Imprints, this is going to sound crazy, but death is not sane. When you're going to have a celebration of life, you want the people there to take with them something more than a piece of paper. In an effort to have something at the celebration of life that friends could take with them and would be a more constant reminder of Delaney, and that they could have Delaney more visible on a day-to-day basis. He was young. Delaney was only 40 years old, so, like I say, giving his friends a piece of paper with an obituary on it just didn't seem right, didn't seem lively enough.
To match his spirit.
Yes, so I came to Perfect Imprints to have koozies made. Young people are always going to have a soda, a water bottle, a cold beverage of their choice, adult or otherwise. And so we decided to do a koozie that would have the Waves for Days moniker on it, and Delaney's name and his enter and exit dates, but then also a reminder that he was all about the water. All about the water. So we had the waves put on the bottom, and anyone who got a t-shirt got one of the koozies. And at the celebration of life, we had baskets with the koozies in them, so that if anybody wanted them, they could just come by and pick it up. It was just so that people could have a memory to take with them. We also, rumble. Friends of Delaney's in the music business made CDs of his Indican music that they produced back in the 90s. And so these were produced and handed out also, along with the little koozie.
And do you still get people asking for those today?
People want the t-shirt, but they really wanted the koozie, and once they had one, they wanted a second one, or a third one, or a fourth one. And the thing that really surprised me after the celebration of life was the number of his friends that would send me pictures at various happy events, football games, shrimp boils, surfing, concerts. We had a family wedding in Honduras in November, just 3 weeks after Delaney's celebration of life. And I chose not to go to the wedding. It was just too soon. But the family took koozies and t-shirts to Honduras, and in many of the wedding pictures, there's somebody with the koozie in hand. Somebody's got the t-shirt on. My grandchildren experienced snow the other day for the first time and sent a picture of them making snow angels with their t-shirts on. And you know, so the koozies are making their round. Delaney should be well traveled.
Oh yes, they're continuing his legacy.
Yes, and it's always joyful. It's always joyful to see him, because I know Delaney's being remembered in happiness and, you know, living life and continuing to be remembered.
Absolutely.
The significance.
The significance. Do you foresee his celebration being celebrated annually?
I don't know if it will be as big as it was, because I'm very fortunate to have a very strong family and a lot of friends, and was amazed at the number of people who attended. And celebrations of life should be just that. They should be a time to laugh and a time to remember the good times. And I didn't bring it with me, but one thing that we wanted to do at the celebration that weather did not permit because the winds kicked up, memorial lanterns.
Oh, those are beautiful.
The Japanese memorial lanterns. We had 40 lanterns for Delaney's 40 years here on Earth with us. And the winds were just too much. We couldn't do them. So I made sure that everyone at the Celebration of Life who wanted a memorial lantern to take home with them to remember Delaney in their way, a more private time, that they could take memorial lantern with them. And people were allowed to write on the lanterns before they sent them up a well wish or something like that. But I've since come to know that you can come to someone like Perfect Imprints and have them printed with your personal message on them for anything. It doesn't have to be a celebration of life. I would like to think that we will celebrate Delaney annually in many ways, not just one day.
Absolutely.
There's the birthday, there's the day that he passed away, there's the day that the celebration of life was, there's always so many reasons.
Just because you're missing them a little extra.
Yes, there's so many times that you can do something like that, or just have your koozie with you.
Absolutely.
I'm sure at work they think I'm crazy, but my koozie is with me at work all the time because I call it re-entry. re-entry into normalcy after something like this is not easy. So if a koozie gets you through it, or a keychain, or a t-shirt, or music, or a lantern, or, anything at all, do it. Do it. Whatever you think will help you survive this.
To everybody who has experienced the same loss, or a similar loss of a child, do you have any final words for them? Anything that helped you get through?
Friends and family. I wouldn't be here without them. There were days when I couldn't get out of bed, but I knew I had to. And because I had to do this for Delaney. And for my family, we all suffered. So keep your friends and family close. Don't be afraid to cry. It's a sign of how much love you have. And ask for help when you need it. Don't be afraid to say, this is too much for me right now. Keep your doctor in the loop. I've learned to pay attention to my own body during this process, because not eating becomes a habit. Not sleeping becomes a habit. Not taking care of yourself becomes a habit. And in order for us to continue the memory of the one that we've lost, you've got to take care of yourself.
Wini, thank you so much for being here with us. I think I can safely say that we all appreciate your openness, and you are incredibly strong and inspiring.
Thank you.
May the memory of Delaney and Wini's story continue to live on. All we can hope for now is that this continues to help others who are struggling with similar grief. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to visit perfectimprints.com for creative marketing solutions and other true heartfelt stories. Until next time.